Hola. José Carlos. ¿Me escuchas? Hola, José Carlos. José Carlos, ¿me escuchas?
Hola, hola. Hola, 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 hola. Ya. Shortcuts. Hola, Carlos, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, bien, ¿me escuchas? ¿Me escuchas, José Carlos?
¿Me escuchas?
Sí, yo te escucho. ¿Tú me escuchas? ¿Aló? Estoy ocupado en este momento, por favor. En otro momento.
Mr. Lagman. Yes, Mr. Lagman. Okay, bye. hola, hola. Oh. Mm. Mm. Hola Carlos, ¿me escuchas?
Sí te escucho, ¿tú me escuchas?
Ok.
¿Me
Muy
escuchas?
buenos días. Mi nombre es José Carlos Burga y soy el presidente del Peruvian Business Council. En este momento estamos terminando de arreglar algunos temas para poder comenzar con la presentación. Hola Carlos.
Buenos días, José Carlos, ¿cómo estás? ¿Me escuchas?
¿Me escuchas?
Yo sí te escucho, José Carlos, ¿tú me escuchas?
Entonces es mi audio. Hola, hola. Ahí está la razón. Ya te... Ok, vamos a comenzar el evento. Good morning, my name is José Carlos Burga, and I'm the chair of the board of directors of the Peruvian Business Council. Okay, vamos a comenzar Today we have Carlos Linares. Good morning, my name is José Carlos Burga, and I'm the chair of the board of directors. Carlos is currently the chair of the board of directors and CEO of Banco de Comercio in Lima. Previously, he was the chair of the board of directors of COFIDE, the Peru's development bank. Previous to that, he also worked with Banco de Comercio as a chair of the board of directors, and he has held positions in Petroperu and in the Ministry of Economy of Finance of Peru, and in many in the Banco de la Nación, National Bank of Peru. And today he is going to talk to us about the status of the Peruvian economy. Carlos, it is your floor.
Thank you, Jose Carlos. I hope you all are listening me well. In first place, I would like to thank the Peruvian Business Council and Jose Carlos for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to share with you some views of the status of the Peruvian economy. If we can go, Jose Carlos, to the next slide first, please. Could you please go to the next slide, Jose Carlos? Are you listening? Are you listening to me? Hello? Are you listening to me? Okay. Okay. You're listening, right? It's just- Okay. Let me then share the presentation. Just a second, please, in order to be able to go through the presentation. Okay. Well, we have here the first slide. We can see the results of the GDP in the last years. As all you know, Peru has been considered one of the stars of the region almost in the last 20 years, with a very stable economy, monetary policy that preserves the value of the currency, and a very high rates of growth for the GDP. Even in the 3 years before the COVID-19 pandemic, the GDP growth rate shows an average of 2.9%. However, with the pandemic, as happens in all the world, and more dramatically in Peru, due to the measures, the very severe measures that the government took to mitigate the consequences of the pandemic, we have a very low, very negative result in the GDP with a 10.9%, minus 10.9%. However, the recovery was fast in year 2021 with a surprising 13.4%. After 2018, Peru is undergoing a climate of political instability, and that has consequences on the evolution of the economy. This last year, we have a recession with a final result of minus 0.6% for the GDP. Although projections for this year and next one are relatively positive. The official projection for the government is 3% for both years. However, there are some factors that could affect these projections, and most think tanks and other institutions are projecting positive result, but more near to 2%. The government has made some change recently in the cabinet. It's important to mention that the new Minister of Economy and the new Minister of Mining, who has announced some measures in order to reactivate the economy with a more clear position regarding promoting private investment, and that will have a positive impact in expectations also. So we expect that these measures and a better feeling from the private sector regarding the measures that the government could undertake maybe will make it possible to reach this 3%. Although we know there are some risks and some measures that in other fields the government will have to undertake to make it possible reach these results. In this next slide, I don't know if we can go to the next slide. Here we show the fiscal indicators. The fiscal deficit in 2020 reached the highest point of 8.9% due to the pandemic, and also that impacted in the debt, that shows an important increase also, reaching almost 35% of GDP. Peru, up to this year, shows one of the lowest ratio for debt to GDP. However, due to the pandemic and all the measures that the government had to take, we have an important increase in the debt, which has somehow been moderated in recent years. For the following, this year and next one, we're expecting some stabilization around 33% in the debt to GDP ratio. And that probably is going to be one of the lowest, if not the lowest, in the region. Next slide, please. Okay. In the external sector, Peru continues to show a trade surplus, reaching its highest point in 2021 with 6.6%. The expectation for this surplus is to stabilize around 5.4 to 5.6% in the upcoming years. Besides traditional exports like mining and traditional agricultural products, Peru has shown an impressive growth in terms of agribusiness, with some products that have shown an impressive growth, like grapes, berries, and avocados. And non-traditional exports in the agribusiness will be reaching around $10 billion in 2023 and probably a similar amount for 2024. The current account has experienced a transformation moving from 4% GDP deficit in 2022 to a reduced deficit of 0.1% in 2023. This is attributed to a reduced import volumes, favorable terms of trade, and other factors. For these coming years, we expect a positive trade balance, but the current account balance will be relatively negative, 0.8 for this year and minus 1.2% with 2020 for 2025, and that is consistent with a recovery that we expect for the economy, increasing imports related to capital expenditures, and also increasing in productions. So that is positive regarding what we expect for a recovery of the economy for this year and the next one. For 2026, this is an electoral year. We'll have elections, so we'll have to wait what happened with the political movement. We probably will have a scenario relatively similar that we have in the previous elections regarding the number of political parties that could be participating. It could be positive if we can see some agreements between parties with similar orientation in order to have less options for the population. I think it's going to be critical, the results of this election for the evolution of the economy. However, we think that the Peruvian economy has the conditions to keep in this trend of positive results, even though these problems, these risks that we are facing regarding political uncertainty or social conflicts, that we expect that could be managed in order to allow the growth that we are expecting for the coming years. If we can move on to the next slide, please. Well, here we show how stable is a Peruvian economy in terms of inflation rate. We have also suffered an increase in previous years due to the increasing interest rates. However, this last year, the central bank has started reducing the reference rate, and inflation continues decreasing, including this last month. It has reached the objective range of 3% as a limit. So that probably it shows that Peru is one of the first countries in the region and in the world in showing these results with the monetary policy, and the central banks continue doing a great job in terms of keeping the monetary stability and the strength of the Peruvian soul. So we expect that inflation will keep within the target established by the central bank for this year and next one, continuing observing a reduction in the reference rate to levels of 4.5% probably toward the end of the year. That also is positive in terms of the increase in productivity, in production, regarding the decrease in terms of the financing for companies. And if we will move on to the next slide, precisely we show the evolution of the private sector credit, which in this previous year, 2023, only shows an increase of 0.7%, but that is explained by the recession that we experimented last year. However, we expect a positive results in terms of growth of credit to the private sector for 3.5% and probably 5% for 2025. And the good news is that Peru continues to show a healthy financial system. The Superintendency of Banking and Insurance, we have also a great job that does the supervisor, which is recognized not only in Peru but internationally. So we'll have a healthy financial sector that will foster through credit the development of some sectors that will be part of what explain the economic growth that we expect for 2024 and 2025. And this in the context, as I have mentioned, that a reduction in inflation within the target established by the central bank. So Peru will be recovering this stability in terms of prices and inflation, which is fundamental for economic growth. Next slide, please. We show here the evolution of private investment that has been negative in the last 2 years, 2022 and 2023, in part due to the political instability that Peru has undergo in these 2 years especially, but we know that this is a situation that's coming since 2018. We have had 6 presidents in 6 years. So, of course, that generates uncertainty and instability, and private investment has been affected. However, we expect a rebound for 2024 and 2025. Amid that, some other change in the political environment that is expected through changes in the rules of elections and the rules of political parties that may help to put some order in terms of the electoral process that we expect for 2026. However, as I mentioned before, some changes that has been in the cabinet of ministers, the Minister of Economy, the Minister of Mining, are expected to give some new expectations for the private sector in terms of investments, the mining sector, and also in other sectors that could expect more stability in terms of predictability, also in terms of the policies given by the government for this year. Also, we expect a recovery in public investment in terms of the central government and also in terms of local governments. We move on to the next slide, please. Here we show the Peruvian stock market and its evolution in the last 5 years. with very good results. However, the volumes show in the Peruvian market has not been really very important. But this merge that has been approved recently and is is expected to be implemented this year between the Santiago Stock Exchange, the Colombian Stock Exchange, and the Lima Stock Exchange will create new opportunities for investment and also for financing to Peruvian companies within this merge of these three stock exchange. Also allowing increase volumes of negotiation for these three stock exchange now will be called NUAM Stock Exchange. And I think that is a positive news for the Peruvian economy. Next slide, please. Here we compare some of indicators among countries in the region. In terms of the reserves, Peru shows 27.8% of GDP in international reserves. It's the highest among the region. Fiscal deficit of 2.8%, which is among the lowest in the region, but we have to recognize that this result for 2023 has gone beyond the fiscal rule established for the fiscal deficit, which was 2.4%. This fiscal deficit is established as for 2% next year. However, there are some doubts regarding that it could be reached by the government due to the budget approved by Congress for this year, which represents an important increase compared to the previous year. And also, the recession will have an impact on tax collection in the beginning of this year that could make it difficult for the government to reach a fiscal deficit within the one established by the fiscal rule for 2024. Even though, as we can see, is one of the lowest in the region. Inflation rate is 6.3%. However, as we have mentioned before, this is declining rapidly, and we expect to reach the target established by the central bank, which is within 2 plus minus 1%, with a limit of 3%, no? Which for sure will be reached this year. And also, we see that the MB, which shows the risk for the countries in the region, Peru chose one of the lowest, no, after Uruguay and Chile, which is reflects that the strength, the macroeconomic strength of the Peruvian economy. We can move to the next slide, please. Well, we like to talk about some investment opportunities in agribusiness, as I mentioned before. For this year, we expect an increase in the area of crops planting intention for this first year in both the traditional products in agriculture for agricultural exports and also in agribusiness for non-traditional exports like the one I mentioned before: grapes, berries, avocados, and other fruits. So we expect this trend to continue, increasing exports, especially in non-traditional exports in agribusiness. The next slide, please. Also, it's important to mention the opportunities in infrastructure and mining. Proinversión, which is the agency that promotes investment in Peru under PPP schemes, has been very active. It has taken a new velocity in terms of the process for launching these projects, and we can see for the period 2023-2024, 42 PPP projects for amounting $8,500 million. And the main projects within this group are in the electric sector: transmission lines, the railway Huancayo-Huancavelica, Puerto Maldonado wastewater treatment plant, and Kong Industrial Park, a highway in the Highlands longitudinal highway section 4, peripheral ring road, this is in Lima, and a port in the south of Peru, New San Juan Marcona Port, which are important opportunities. Also, in the mining sector, we have more than 50 projects, around 50 projects that amount $54,500 million, being the most representative ubicated in Cajamarca and Apurima. And that's what the new Minister of Mining has declared regarding allowing streamlining the processes for authorizations for the mining industry. So we expect that it will have a positive impact in terms of accelerating mining investment, especially those projects that are in the pipeline waiting for authorizations. So we think that we have good opportunities for private investment, not only under PPP schemes, also private investments in the mining sector and agribusiness. And that will contribute to resume the growth path that the Peruvian economy has shown in most part of these two decades that we have in this new century. Also, another sector with good opportunities for private investment is tourism. We can please move on to the next slide. There are some measures that the government has taken in order to promote tourism and also to incentive investment in this sector. No? We can see here some indicators like domestic tourism trips and international arrivals, and we can see how this is recovering after the pandemic in a good, in very important rate. It is true also that some social conflicts has affected in some moments this trend, but the government is taking measures in order to avoid a negative impact in these tourism trends, both domestic and international. The Ministry of tourism and trade also has started very interesting campaigns internationally to promote tourism to Peru. So we expect also that international arrivals keep growing. We have also the new Jorge Chávez Airport in Lima, which is expected to be finished by the end of this year, that would allow an increase in the flights arriving in Lima. That will be also another factor that will contribute to this increase in tourism. Peru has very famous and also other not so famous but very interesting and marvelous places to show to visitors. Next slide, please. Well, we have chosen of the positive aspects of Peruvian economy. We expect that the economy will resume its rate of growth this year and next one. However, there are some risks, both sides, internal factors and also in international area in terms of events that could affect this expected rate of growth. In the internal aspects, we have mentioned the political uncertainty and also social conflicts that we expect to be moderate in the coming years, the next 2 years at least, before 2026, that we will have a electoral period again. And we expect also that the confidence in the government will allow private investment to recover its rhythm that it has in the past. So far for this year, we expect a positive 3 to 4% increase regarding the two negative years that we have previously in terms of private investment. And we think that the strength of the Peruvian economy in terms of the macroeconomic indicators will allow this growth. However, this stability could be affected by external factors coming from the context of the international economy and also geopolitical aspects that could materialize in this year or next one. If we go to the next slide, please. In terms of the economy in the rest of the world, we expect for this 2024 not so good year in terms of growth. In Latin America, as an average, we expect average growth less than the previous year, as well as in the Eurozone, and maybe and also in China. So we will not have this factor as helping the Peruvian economy. But we expect that these projections at least can contribute to what we expect for the Peruvian economy. And in the next Slide, please. Another factor that could have some impact is that regarding inflation and interest rate in the rest of the world. In the United States, we know that the reduction of interest rate will take some more time. It's been announced that just in the second semester of this year, they will start with reductions in interest, the reference interest rate, and we have similar expectation for the Eurozone and other countries like United Kingdom and Canada. So that could affect in some way the relative relations between interest rates with the countries in the region. However, as we have seen before, we expect that the monetary policy conducted by the central bank will allow Peru to show a more stable results in terms of inflation and also in terms of the strength of the Peruvian sol. And next slide, please. Just to finish, we have shown probably an optimistic view regarding what we can expect for the Peruvian economy in this year and the next one. There are some fundamentals that give some base and confidence for these results, which is basically based on the resilience of the Peruvian economy that we have seen in previous years, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic, and also the confidence that we can have in the monetary policy conducted by the central bank and in the measures that the Ministry of Economy and other sectors could undertake in order to foster private investment. I think that the confidence of the private sector will recover if we compare that environment with the last 2 years, and that will allow this new investment coming from the private sector and also in the public sector. We have seen that there are important projects in the pipeline, and we expect that many of the projects that Preversión is working in its pipeline to launch to the market will have positive results, and that assures an important flow of investment for the coming years. Regarding the political environment and uncertainty, we expect that that will somehow give some instability, at least for the next 2 years before elections, that will allow this recovery of the economy and also recovery in the private investment, as well as the public investment from the central government and also from subnational governments. And well, that's basically the presentation. I expect that this optimism will somehow come through. I'm open for your questions or any comments that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos, for this presentation. Very, very comprehensive view of the economy of Peru. I'm gonna take the opportunity to present the first question, and then we will go with other participants that may want to present questions as well. Carlos, right now we are going through, in the United States at least, this is an election year. We expect a lot a lot of things to change to happen this year, and changes probably or one way or the other. So, how do you see the economic and political relation between Peru and the United States, and the changes that are happening, or the political movement that is going on, and also how you see the relationship between the Peruvian economy and the BRICS, and this attempt to stop using the dollar as a primary currency, and yeah.
Okay, well, thanks, Jose Carlos. Well, I think that Peru has a very good relationship with the United States. These political aspects that could result as a consequence of the elections in the United States, we all know that the results. But in any case, I think that the economic and commercial interests will predominate. Will be predominant. Another aspect that we have to consider also is that the export, or the international relationship that Peru has in terms of trade is well diversified. We have probably around 18 to 20% of the trade goes to the United States, and we have another 20% or 22% with China, also another 15% with the Eurozone. So we are very diversified in terms of international trade, and political aspect could have some impact, but will not be so harmful for the Peruvian economy, that given this diversification. And the second question was regarding
the BRICS and the attempt to change to stop using the dollar as a main currency.
Well, I see that it's going to be somehow difficult. I don't know that it's something that could be attained in the short term, but probably that's something that could be a possible scenario in the midterm. However, I think that given that diversified trade that the Peruvian economy has, probably Peru is one of the countries that has more international trade agreements with many areas in the world. It's something that probably could not have a very big impact, no? But I think that that's not something that could probably happen in the short term.
Thank you.
I would have a question.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hello. Thank you very much, Carlos, for this excellent presentation. As you can see, I am here. It's at night. I am in Guangxi, China, at the border with Vietnam. And it is exactly because of where I am right now is that what would be the projections for increasing business in Peru now that APEC 2024 is going to be held in Lima, so including the visit of President Xi Jinping from China. So I think this would be a great opportunity for a wider opening of Peru beyond traditional partners in Europe, North America, Latin America, to these enormous opportunities that the Asian countries would bring. So how would this could be built into the projections of developing further businesses for the future? Over to you, Carlos.
Thank you, Cesar, for your question. Well, Peru has been important participant in the APEC from the beginning. I think that, as I mentioned before, we are very diversified, and China is probably now one of the main partners, no, in international trade, and also we have seen in recent years an important flows of investment coming from China. We have the Shanghai port, which is a very important investment. We'll have a mega port in south of Lima, 200 kilometers south of Lima, that will have a very positive impact for the region in terms of being a reference for the region for exports towards China, and having also an impact in terms of the cost of the logistics for our exports and imports coming from Asia. And in the context of APEC, I think this will be an opportunity to keep reviewing the opportunities for investment, not only from China, but also other countries from Asia. No? Also, I think that it's a good opportunity also to keep diversifying these partners, the number of partners that Peru has for international trade. Is a good opportunity also for discover new markets for our export products. No?
Thank you very much, Carlos. Great, thank you.
Carlos, Nicolas Chafloque, who is one of the participants right now, is asking us what expectations regarding investments can be noted in the near future. You mentioned a series of potential investments and portfolios that the government has through Proinversión and also the mining portfolio for this year. Which of the most important opportunities that you've seen you believe are going to come to realization this year or the next?
Well, in terms of the projects under the infrastructure and competitiveness national plan that approved by the government, and that Proinversión is working on these projects. I think that, as was mentioned in the presentation, there are some projects that are going to be launched this year. Projects like in the transport sector, as I mentioned, the highway in the Andes, in the highlands of Peru, the peripheral highway also in Lima, the train from Huancayo to Huancavelica. Those are projects that are ready to be launched to the market. The expectations are very positive in terms of the interest that the investor has shown for these projects. Also, in the energy sector, basically transmission lines, that has been one of the projects, or important projects that were launched last year, but the pilot, there are new projects for this year's Also, we have always there very competitive participation from several investors coming from the region and also from Europe. And we have also mining projects that probably will be taking new a new path in terms of the process of investment, given that the government has announced some measures in order to easy the authorization process for the different stage of a mining project. No? So we have this year, for example, Chalcobamba in Apurímac, which is a extension of Las Bambas. We have also some projects that are in a pipeline, like La Granja or Galeno in Cajamarca. These projects are almost ready to start after obtaining these authorizations that are necessary for initiate these investments.
Thank you, Carlos. There is a question that is more of political analysis, but I would like to pass it to you anyways. You know, what are the risks that Peru? What are the risks of Peru losing the FTA with the United States? You know, like that is something that I don't see, but how do you see the health of the economic relationship between Peru and the United States, especially, you know, having seen the examples of Nicaragua and Guatemala that have, you know, like measures have been taken against in these countries by the United States?
Yeah. Well, it's true. We have had a political uncertainty in the last years. You know? Having 6 presidents in 6 years says a lot about this uncertainty. It does not allow a desirable environment for investment. However, within this uncertainty, we think that we can expect some scenario that will allow resume investment flows for the next 2 years. Maybe democracy is in risk, is at risk, somehow strong. I think it's true. We see this political turmoil, you know, the discussions or the fights between the different powers, you know, the government, the Congress, the judicial institutions also, that give some worries about what could happen finally. However, I think that some arrangements have to be reached in order to allow continue the path of the economy, investments, and the production of Peru. I don't think that, I don't see that as a near possibility, losing the FTA with the United States. No? I think that we have seen in other countries in the region that had left-wing governments with some positions against United States or against a free economy, looking for a more or trying to get a more strong position or activity of the government in the economy. They're still having a commercial relationship with the United States. I don't think that Peru will face this possibility. I don't see that happening, at least in the near future, and I don't think that the political turmoil will leave us to this kind of situation. I think I'm more optimistic in terms of seeing that some agreements could be reached by the different institutions in Peru, and also by the different parties in Congress, to allow a transition toward a new elections.
Just one last question, because we are over the time right now. What do you think about the economic changes happening in Argentina? How that can affect the scenario in Latin America? How that affect us in Peru, for good or for bad? What is your opinion about what is happening in economic terms, specifically in Argentina?
Well, I think that most of the ideas, the measures that announced by the President Milei are in a good direction in terms of trying to move towards a market-friendly economy, no? Reducing the participation of the government in the economy. However, I think that it's going to be difficult for Milei, and we have seen some not so good results in terms of approving some measures and some laws that will allow these changes in terms of government participation, some measures that allows, for example, the role of the central bank, or some monetary policies, and also other policies oriented towards incentive private investment. The problem is that he doesn't have enough participation in Congress. No, he has to look for alliances that allow to approve and implement these measures, and that's the somehow the troublesome situation that President Milei will have to undertake and look for alliances, for agreements, in order to implement these measures. Something similar happens with, I think, with the Macri government in the past. It's going to be difficult for Milei to implement his plan as is being conceived. Probably he will have to look for alliances in order to move forward and implement the main measures, the main policies that he would like to implement in order to turn Argentina towards a market-friendly and open economy. No? If that happens, I think that it will be good for the region, because Argentina will probably receive important investment flows coming from abroad, and that will be very positive, very good for Argentina, and also for the region. No?
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you very much for this presentation again. And thank you everyone for joining us today for this conference. we are going to have, in the Peruvian Business Council, we are going to have a monthly event like this to discuss investment conditions in Peru. And with that, I would like to say thank you again, and I will close the stream. And thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Jose Carlos. Thanks to all participants also.
Thank you. Bye now.